Dhani watches a lot of television and movies. John does not. Listen in as she tells him about what she's watching, and he tries to make sense of it all. Welcome to Watching My Stories with Dhani and John.
And we're back.
Hi again, everybody.
I'm Dhani.
And I'm John. Still.
This is Watching My Stories.
Yes.
So this is part 2. If you didn't listen to part 1, I covered, I don't even know how many movies it was.
All of them.
Like 8 or 9, 10, something like that. So that took up an hour talking about those movies. So we decided to do a part 2 to come back and talk about TV shows and Hugh Grant in the Actor's Corner. So here we go.
Okay. I'm in. Let's have at it.
So the first series I'm going to talk about just came out on Friday. This is Selena, the series. This is about the Tejano star Selena Quintanilla. They aren't calling it like series or season. They're calling it part 1. So I think there's going to just be 2 parts. And part 2 will come out sometime later. So in this part 1, there were 9 episodes. They're all a half hour each. So I was able to watch this all yesterday, which was easy. Christian Serratos is playing Selena. She's on The Walking Dead. If anyone watches that, you'll know her from that. And what's weird is instead of her reminding me of Selena, she reminds me of Jennifer Lopez.
I don't think that's weird.
Yeah,
I don't think that's that weird.
It's like I had never on Walking Dead. She never reminds me of Jennifer Lopez, but in this role, I'm like, oh, she looks way more like Jennifer Lopez than she does like Selena. But anyway, this was a great series, way better or way more involved than the movie was. Mm-hmm. We know that her dad Abraham keeps a very kind of tight grip on Selena and her memory and her reputation and all of that sort of thing. So of course they were involved in this, and part of the issue with that is I felt like they definitely there's definitely a thing of Selena can do no wrong. And so everyone around her seems to be doing wrong, but never her. Right. Or not even that. It's kind of like, her brother struggles a lot. So first off, her dad in the movie, Abraham was very pushy, and he was the one who, got them all started in a band when they were all children and all of that. But I never felt like he was a jerk. And this series, he's awful. It's like watching Joe Jackson with the Jackson 5 again, not physically abusive, but just never praises his children, never good enough. Will they get a gold record? Not good enough, need platinum, get back to work. They're never allowed to enjoy it. And everything falls on AB, the oldest son. He has to write all the songs. He has to produce all the songs. And it's just so anyway, my first point was you see AB who struggles and he's, buckling under the pressure. And the older sister, Suzette, she is very close with Selena, but she also kind of takes on a role of protecting her and that sort of thing. Abraham is always mean and angry and never satisfied and all that. But you see all these emotions with everyone around them. And it's almost like Selena never even has real emotions. You know what I mean? Like it's very much like, I'm not sure what they're cradling with her. And maybe that is how she was, but it's like, she was just kind of always happy. It was weird. But overall, I really loved the series. It starts when she's young and her dad discovers that she has this great voice and them working the whole circuit of weddings and all that sort of stuff. And then through so this goes through 91. She's killed in 95. So she's about 20 when we finish. And she had just started her relationship with Chris, who becomes her husband. So that's kind of where we get to in this first part. Is just her getting to be 20 years old. And she's already at that point, she's won Entertainer of the Year for 3 or 4 years at the Tejano Music Awards. She's had #1 records. She's had gold records, all of that sort of thing. So, but it's very much the ramp up. And here's what else sucks again about her dad is she's 20 years old and she's had all of this going on. And yet as they tour in a tour bus that still he's purchased and isn't great, and they go to hotel rooms, she's still sharing a hotel room with her parents. You know what I mean? Like, he's so overprotective, and like she still lives at home, and they're still making their own costumes, you know, all this sort of stuff that you wouldn't think had been happening at that point. You know what I mean? 'Cause she was huge, you know? But again, you know, I'm still looking at the father and I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? You know, all you're doing is pushing everyone, and yet you're getting all this money. Like, he never allows them to ask about the money and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I know he did right by her. But it just also feels very Joe Jackson-y, you know what I mean? So
sure.
It was interesting though to think that he would put all that out there, because I think he thinks, I still did the right thing. I got them where they got to, you know. Yeah. But on the same hand, you also kind of didn't get her killed. I'm not going to say that, but by, you know, making her so famous. But she would have been that famous anyways. There was just nothing. And that's what you know, for me, I still remember where I was when I learned that she was killed. I was driving in my car. I was going to work, and and hearing it on the radio, and just getting to work and just putting the radio on all day because they were just playing her music all day. And you know, again, I lived in Tucson, Arizona, so for me, I knew who she was, and it was a thing there. I'm certain that most of my friends who grew up in Virginia had never heard her, you know. So
I grew up in Wisconsin. I was in Wisconsin in 95, and I'm not certain it's reached there yet. So sorry. Yeah, exactly. But she would have been huge. You know, she was working on a English album. And when you watch this and you think of it, and you think of like, there probably wouldn't have been a Jennifer Lopez, because there would have been a Selena. You know what I mean? Like, there wouldn't have been space for J-Lo. I think the perspective is there would have been a J-Lo, but she would have been compared to Selena.
Yeah, Selena would have been way more, you know, even though she was younger. So I think now, you know, J-Lo's 50. I think Selena would have been 49 this year. So,
well, she was 20 in 95.
She was born in 71.
No, 20 and
so she would have been 50 next year.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Right. But yeah, you know, it does make you sad, because again, when you watch her videos or you watch anything she's done, she was also good at acting, and she definitely would have. Yeah.
Yeah. She was a natural.
Yeah, exactly. And that voice, God, you can't, it's kind of like, what I think of is always, Karen Carpenter, because there's that deepness and richness to the voice, and it's just, you can't, no one else has that, you know. It's just, I just love it. Anyway, so Selena Part 1 on Netflix, very well done. Love the costumes, love watching all of that again. And it's all Selena's voice. Christian is lip syncing to everything, just like J-Lo did in the movie. So yeah, you can't replicate it.
Right.
Yeah, so definitely go watch it. And then I have no idea when Part 2 is coming out, but I can't wait.
Part 2.
Yeah. Okay, next thing I'm going to talk about is the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion. This is on Peacock. I just wanted to talk about it because I loved it so much, and I cried through the entire thing. And I love that show. It is a staple in my world. I know every show by heart, every episode by heart. It's just a thing, you know. It was such a good show.
Well, and it was in your formative years, so.
Yeah, and I'm a Will Smith. He can do no wrong. We know this. And so watching him with everyone again and seeing everyone again was just lovely. And he does have a conversation with the first Aunt Viv who left the show, and that was interesting. They do a wonderful dedication to James Avery, Uncle Phil, which just had me bawling because all of them were sitting there bawling. Anyway, if you enjoyed that show at all, you have to watch this reunion. It's just so good, and it brings back so much, and you get to hear stories that you hadn't heard before. And and I'm actually watching Fresh Prince on Peacock. I just, you know, I put it on whenever I need stuff to watch or whatever. So, you know, it's one of those shows that, yeah, it's dated, you know, because it is definitely 90s. There is no question about it. But it's also timeless. You know, the stuff that they did, and the comedy is timeless. You know, you can't with Carlton and Will together. there's too much funny there. So,
right.
Yep. Anyway, so I just want to talk about that. Next, I'm going to talk about The Crown, season 4. Just a few weeks ago, I talked about season 3 that I just ended because it took me almost a full year to get through the 3rd season. It was so boring and blech. But this 4th season, I watched in a weekend. Part of it is because it was so much of Prince and Charles and Diana. So that was a lot of, gimme type watching.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a much better season getting into the 80s and all of that. And Gillian Anderson played Margaret Thatcher, which if she gets nominated, I will riot.
Wow.
She was awful. Awful. And it's like, it threw me off because the voice, she was doing this really raspy voice. She talked super slow. That was so boring. I had to keep Googling Margaret Thatcher's speeches to see, is this how she was? Like, I don't remember hearing this sort of thing. And she wasn't. And there were times where she would give a speech on the show, Gillian Anderson would, and so I would go and Google the exact same thing to be like, is this how it was presented? Nope.
Well,
like, who let her keep doing this awful impression?
I think the problem, and I haven't seen any of this, right? So, but I remember Thatcher being a little bit deliberate with her speech. Probably not anything so noticeable as you're saying.
You'd have to, yeah. She was, of course she was, but she was, there was nothing like this.
Yeah, okay.
And that was really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And the character of Thatcher is annoying. She was not, she was, and so what I liked about it was the opposition between Thatcher and Queen Elizabeth was it flipped the script for me on Queen Elizabeth, because all of a sudden I was liking her. She had been so old fashioned and stodgy and just, stuck in her ways. And all of a sudden against Thatcher, Queen Elizabeth looked like this feminist and progressive person, right. And all this, and I was just like, I can't believe I'm liking Queen Elizabeth over this. But it was, so that was a very interesting relationship that they dove into, as well as the Charles and Diana thing. And I think we ended, both kids are born, so the next season is definitely going to cover the tragedy of her. And, I don't know exactly where, we're ending. The show is ending, so I don't know where they're taking it to. I don't know if it's going to get, I think I read somewhere that they were thinking of maybe adding some to get Harry and Meghan, their whole thing into it, but I don't know that that's going to happen. So I think they're ending way before that.
Yeah.
But anyway, season 4, really, really well done of The Crown. So go check that out on Netflix.
Okay.
The next show I'm going to talk about just ended last weekend, which is The Undoing on HBO. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows this with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant and Donald Sutherland. This was disappointing. David E. Kelly wrote the series. It's based on a book. And here's the problem I have is it was like 7 episodes or something. Mm-hmm. They were purposefully throwing out all these other options as to who could have done it. So the point is, this girl gets killed. We find out Hugh Grant had a relationship with her and had been having an affair with her. Sorry. So your first inclination is, oh, he did it. Of course he did it. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't he? Who else would have?
Why wouldn't he? Well...
but they threw out all this other stuff. There was like 5 other people that could have done it. By the time we got to the final episode, you're thinking, oh, that. Spoiler alert if you have not watched The Undoing. It turned out that it was Hugh Grant. And it was just like this horribly disappointing, like, seriously, the most obvious answer was actually the answer the entire time. It was, and it wasn't like a twist. It wasn't like, it was just kind of like really disappointing.
Okay.
So I was not happy with this. I guess in the book that is the ending. So if you read the book, that you would have known that. But I did see some people saying that this went out of its way to try and get you to think it was someone else. So I don't know. The best thing I can say about it is Hugh Grant was outstanding in this. He was completely different than I've ever seen, and horribly mean, obviously, and just you've never seen him like this, and it was actually a little scary. You know, it was a little like, oh, I don't know that I want to see him like this.
I don't think I want to see Hugh Grant like that.
But he was really good, so I hope he gets something. Nicole Kidman was a little bit too statue. Like, you know, I couldn't tell what was going on with her, and I couldn't tell if that was supposed to be the character or if that was just her face, and it couldn't move. You know, she's good in everything, but this one I felt like she was a little too doe-eyed or something the whole time, you know, so I don't know. But I enjoyed it until the very last episode. I'll give it that.
Okay.
So that's The Undoing, so that should be on HBO Max now.
Okay.
Next show we need to talk about is Series 10 of The Great British Bake Off.
Okay.
So this is on Netflix. The entire series you can go and watch. This was good.
Yeah, it was really good. I thought it was really good.
So Sandy didn't come back as the other host. Right. So now it was Noel Fielding and Matt Lucas, which I really enjoyed Matt a lot.
I liked him so much more than I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
You know, because my only real experience with him was from Bridesmaids. Right? Where, you know.
Yeah, he seems like a jerk.
Well, he played very annoying, which was his character. So, unfortunately, I kind of equated that with him. But it turns out he's
lovely.
He really is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I loved them. Loved all the contestants this time, of course. My person won that I picked from day one.
Yeah.
I always love the young gingers.
Yes.
But yeah, it was good. They did a lot of good different things. Baked a lot of different items. What was the one week that they had that was they had a Japanese week. Mm-hmm. That was different.
Yeah, the challenges were different this time. Or more. Yeah, just more different than they have been.
Yeah,
because it's kind of been the same challenges, the same formula every season.
Right. They threw in some different weeks, and the difference was too is they were all sequestered together because of COVID.
Yeah. Normally
the Bake Off literally these people come to the tent every weekend and they go home during the week.
Right.
And this time they actually sequestered everyone together and they all just stayed there and did the show the whole time through. So that also, I think, made the camaraderie, even though all these people always get along so well.
Right.
But it definitely seemed like they were closer.
Right.
So
extra tight.
Yeah. So always great. If you have not watched the Bake Off, we've said it every time. If you don't like baking shows or whatever, this doesn't count. You have to watch it. It's the best.
Yeah. And as far as the at home challenge goes, 2 of my 3 made it to the final.
Yes. That's true.
Thought it was going to be the 3.
The third.
Yeah. Peter.
Guys. Peter won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't make it. And my guy ended up coming in second.
Yeah.
No offense to Laura. She did great.
Right.
But Dave. I thought David, I thought he was going to do it. And I thought he did it. So the reveal was a little disappointing to me, I have to say. But, I don't feel bad that Peter won it.
Right. And then also this weekend, they released a holiday special. They have 2 holiday episodes that are from last year, which was fine because they hadn't been released here yet. So we were able to watch. They had people come back for the Christmas special, and then for the New Year's special, they had the cast of Dairy Girls on, which was actually really funny and fun and entertaining.
Very entertaining. Yeah, I knew of the show. I haven't seen any of the show.
Yeah,
but I knew of it, and the girls, the cast, because there is a guy in there, was different than I was expecting. So I didn't know what to expect, but I thought I'd be annoyed by it. But I wasn't. They were fantastic,
and they all did really well.
Yeah, surprisingly, we won't spoil it, but for non-bakers, they did really well.
Yeah, it was entertaining. So definitely check the holiday episodes out as well. Mm-hmm. So those are all on Netflix. Next thing I'm going to talk about real quick is something that literally we just finished before pressing record, and that is Mariah Carey's Christmas special on Apple TV. Look, Mariah Carey's got the best Christmas song in the history of the world. Of course, she sings it great. She looks fantastic on the special. Billy Eichner is on there with her. Tiffany Haddish is like reading the story which everyone here knows now. I love Tiffany Haddish, and so I'll watch anything with her. And then there's one song she does with Ariana Grande and Jennifer from Dreamgirls.
Hudson?
Yes, thank you. So the three of them sing a song, which is just like, give me a break.
That's interesting.
Yeah, just amazing.
I would think from a Mariah Carey that would be a little...
Yeah, the fact that she
dangerous.
welcomed these other girls on there is really... I can't tell that they taped together and filmed together. It looks like they may have all filmed separately, but I'm not sure. But yeah, the fact that she even welcomed them on a track with her is really something.
No offense to Ariana Grande.
What? Who's that? Ariana Grande.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know.
Moving on.
Okay.
But I would... If I was Mariah Carey, I'd be nervous singing with Jennifer Hudson.
Oh, no. It really was Ariana that the two of them, because Ariana can do those high things with Mariah. So they started doing that.
You mean Ariana?
God.
Grandy.
That's horrible. That is horrible.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, it's super entertaining. She even does a whole thing with, because, Apple TV has now all the Peanuts stuff. You know what I mean? The Charlie Brown stuff.
Yes.
So they do a whole thing with the Peanuts gang in a cartoon, and then she sings that. She sings the Christmas song from the Charlie Brown special. Oh no, I might have to pause this. Okay. So
Peanuts.
Yes. Oh no. I'm going to keep going. So that's Mariah Carey's Christmas special on Apple TV Plus. Please, it's worth it. Go check it out. It's Mariah Carey. Look, her voice is never ending. It's not as good as it used to be, but it is still so good. And a lot of the arrangements on the songs are really good. And she looks fantastic. So,
and she's able to move.
And she does. She walks around on her own. So
not much.
It's really good.
But more than we've seen her for probably 15 years.
Okay. Anyway, so that's all of the news shows I want to talk about. We've been talking about this for weeks in that he was not stopping. I need him to stop because you actually have to be involved in this next part.
Oh boy.
So I told you that we've been watching Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
For the last couple months. So that John could watch it, and we finally finished.
Yes, we did.
So you need to talk about what
man. Thought. So again, this is another one that you kept trying to get me to watch because you knew I'd like it. Mm-hmm. I was resistant for a long time. No real reason. I just didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But once I started watching this, probably 2 episodes in, I was like, oh, I'm really liking this. And I'm not sure why I was so resistant to it.
Yeah.
And by the end, I mean, it's a really good show for such a simple premise.
Yeah.
And a simple setting.
Yeah.
They sure got a lot of mileage out of it. Mm-hmm. And it never felt repetitive.
No.
So,
and it never really felt like they were making fun of anything or being mean about anything.
Yeah. And
even though they were, but they weren't.
It was mostly at themselves, if you really think about it, right?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, so many episodes, I mean, it made you laugh.
Oh, obviously.
A lot of episodes made you cringe a little bit, especially listening to Moira. But man, there was a lot of heart in this series.
Cried a lot.
A lot of feels. I mean, especially the last couple episodes, which pretty much, went exactly how I wanted them to.
Right.
The end of it was, I mean, it was just perfect.
Yeah.
It really was for what the characters had, how they developed and where they were at.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Highly recommended.
Yeah. If you haven't watched Schitt's Creek, you need to. It's watching it the second time around in full with him. The main thing I came out of it was Patrick. Patrick was the perfect character. They wrote him absolutely perfectly. And I think part of that was the second time around, I really noticed how much David and I are alike. And so seeing Patrick, maybe I saw some of you in that very perfect, calm, always calm and understands that Dave is going to freak out, but yet can still dish it out and be funny. And it was interesting how much I was drawn to his character this time watching it around, and was just really paying attention to how perfect that character was in the center of all of the craziness. So I really loved that. I also recognized how much I hated Roland Schitt. And like, I think when I would watch week to week, he annoyed me, but watching it all the time, I was just like, oh my God, I can't, like, he needs to go. It was just too awful. There
were times where his ineptitude seemed a little gratuitous.
Yeah.
Even the biggest dope in those situations wouldn't say some of the things that he said.
Right.
So that if I was to if you pushed me for any kind of negative, it would be that.
Yeah,
that was the only thing I can point out is, and I'm not even sure it's his fault. I think that's how the character was written.
Yeah, for sure. And it's written because he does that so well that a lot of times you think it's a lovable little thing. I didn't find that the second time around, and I was questioning Jocelyn because I really like her. She's got kind of her stuff together. And so I was just like, why are they making him way more of an adult when she's staying with him and loves him so much? Yeah. So it felt like it went a little bit overboard with him the second time around. Again, watching week to week, I did not have that issue.
If you really analyze it, why would she be with him? But, it works.
Again, I'm trying to find a negative in an almost perfect show. I mean, that's the whole point. And it does end perfectly, and they're all so talented, and again, from the writing to how they all put those characters together, it's perfection.
Yeah. And the funny thing is you hear about the show. If you haven't watched it, you hear about the show and you immediately think, okay, Eugene Levy. And he's
usually the side character.
He's the smallest part of this show. He's there all the time, but he's like the straight man holding everything together. Yeah. So the other characters, which are bigger than him, kind of take the screen
over. Yeah.
And
but he's so good at it too.
Well, he is, and obviously Catherine O'Hara is gold.
Perfect.
But I found myself, the two main characters for me were David and Alexis. I mean, Annie Murphy and Dan Levy, especially he's perfect. His character, man, and the mannerisms and just the visual effects from him, just facial expressions and whatever is just so unique.
Yeah, his delivery.
It's just it's just beauty. I mean, it's just perfect.
Yeah,
I can't say enough about it. I'm now such a huge Dan Levy fan. That, he's just great.
Yeah. It's perfect. You just need to go to Netflix and just watch all of Schitt's Creek, and you'll understand if you haven't. But if you know, and it seems like most people came about and finally got to it. But I was watching since the show first aired, and it's just been a pleasure.
You were one of the original
shitters.
Shitskis?
Yeah. Okay, so that's all of the television I wanted to talk about, except I want to talk about the new shows that I'm in the middle of watching, so that, again, people during this time are looking for stuff to watch. Wanted to let you know what I am watching. I mentioned Saved by the Bell, the new series that's on Peacock. It's good enough. I'm watching that in between watching other things. I feel kind of old. The Flight Attendant on HBO Max, that's with Kaylee Cuoco. I think there's been 5 episodes out now. It's actually pretty entertaining. There seems to be a lot going on, and it's a little, disjointed, and but it's not serious. It's not overly serious. It's actually a little light and humorous, except that she's trying to figure out who killed someone.
Despite the premise, it's it's light. but there's also
a lot of dark things going on too. So it's like I can't entirely figure it out. But it's entertaining enough that I'm still watching. So that's on HBO Max, The Flight Attendant. I'm also watching a show called A Teacher on Hulu. This is with Kate Mara. And oh crap, what's that kid's name? The kid from Love, Simon and Jurassic World. I love that kid.
I'm sorry, but I cannot help.
Yeah. Anyway, this is the whole story, which we know, where a teacher starts dating her high school student. This is very serious, very much a drama, and it appears that it's not going to be that sort of like, oh, we're in love thing. It's going to be like, you ruined his life because he was a teenager and you shouldn't have taken advantage of him. So we're getting to that point. I think we're 6 episodes in, something like that. It's really well done though. I love both of them. And it's really interesting. So looking forward to getting that over with. And then I'm also, of course, watching season 2 of The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. This second season to me is so much better than the first season. It's just so good. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's a lot more information. We've had really great characters show up this second season. Just this weekend's Boba Fett shows up, which is just awesome. So if you didn't watch The Mandalorian, I highly recommend going back, watching the first season, and then get into the second season.
When are new episodes released?
Every Friday.
Fridays, okay.
Yeah, and they're half-hour episodes. They're good.
Okay.
Robert Rodriguez just directed this last episode. I mean, they've got great directors, like Bryce Dallas Howard's directed some, and Jon Favreau, of course, and they've got really great directors. And so anyway. Cool. And then I just want to talk about some news. A little bit is that Warner Brothers announced that for all of 2021's film releases, they are also going to release on HBO Max on the same day that they put into theaters. So if you care, I think Warner Brothers has something like 12 films coming out next year, something like that. If you care, you want to go get an HBO Max subscription so that you can watch these movies on the same day.
I mean, and let's face it, HBO Max subscription is worth it without this.
Well, I mean, yeah, if I go back and look at everything I've talked about that's already been out there, for me, I've really enjoyed it. And for me, I don't know when I'm ever going to go back to a movie theater. A lot of people are really sad about this. I'm seeing a lot of people online that are like, I love going to the movies and I'm so sad. And, they're destroying this whole thing. I get it too. I've grown up in a movie theater. I loved going to it. I can tell you that once the shootings started, that started taking away my special place of being in a movie theater. But it's now thinking, and then we've talked about it over the last couple of years, the people around me have started to take away from the magic of being there.
Yeah.
All the noise and the people just being disrespectful. But it's now a concern for me for cleanliness. You can't clean that place well enough as far as I'm concerned. So it could be a few years before I feel like I can get back into a movie theater. So I'm really, really happy about this. I'm very excited that I'll get to watch movies the same day they come out.
Yeah.
And I don't have a huge setup. We don't have a theater room or anything.
It's a good sized television.
It's a good sized television. I'd like bigger, but with surround sound and what you can do, you can still have a pretty good experience at home, in my opinion. So,
I think so.
So grab an HBO Max subscription and you can enjoy those movies next year.
Okay.
Last thing I want to talk about, COVID and how these shows are handling it. And my mom felt the same way, which was interesting. I'm really disappointed at a lot of these shows and how they're handling mask wearing and that sort of thing. It started kind of like when Ellen came back and all of that, and I was like, why can't they be sitting there wearing masks? That doesn't make any sense. Then we had to wait for actual scripted shows to come back out, and there are ones that are doing well, and one of them is All Rise on CBS. They're definitely all wearing their masks all the time. They have shields on. They're doing a good job. Because they're set in today's world. So that's what I'm getting at, is a show that's set in today's world. When I watch the Goldbergs, I'm not expecting them to be wearing masks.
Right.
But then I'll watch Law and Order, and they're set in today's world, and they walk around outside with masks on, and then they come into their office and they all start talking and they take their masks off immediately. And it's like, you guys didn't quarantine together. You're at work. You're talking to each other indoors. You should be keeping your mask on. They bring a suspect into the suspect room and then they interrogate him without masks on. And I know there's a very fine line between entertaining and real life, right? And so I get that they think that we need to see people's faces in order to follow the story and all that. I'd turn you to Grey's Anatomy though, or something like that, where we're watching doctors in surgery and they have masks on and we still follow that story just fine. But even Grey's Anatomy, there's been times where it's like, they're in these COVID units and they're working on all these things, and most of them are staying separated from their families and all that, but then some are still getting together and hooking up. And I'm like, wait a minute, you guys just worked all day at a hospital. Like, what are you doing? So it's like, I just feel like there's a bigger responsibility for some of these shows to really stop. When you want to talk to someone and you pull your mask down to talk, I feel like that's showing people that that's what you do. It's
perpetuating a bad idea.
Yeah. And again, they aren't supposed to, I get the whole entertaining thing. It's just a little bit hard when we are struggling as a society to have people understand what it means to wear a mask and wear it properly. And when they watch a show and they're just like, oh, look at that or whatever, it's like, maybe some people can't differentiate.
It's negative reinforcement.
Something like that.
Yeah, it just is.
It's tough. I know like a lot of them, and even soap operas and stuff. Soap operas don't wear masks, but they're definitely not kissing anymore, and that's happening on a lot of shows. You aren't seeing a lot of real interaction that way, and I get that too, and I'm not missing it, but it is interesting when you kind of see shows where you're used to that and it's not happening. But anyway, I just wanted to bring it up because there's some that, and Law and Order has been a big one. It's really been annoying me, and I don't know what's going on there. It's just like FBI, same thing. It's like, what are you guys doing? Either don't wear them at all and pretend like you're in a different universe, or do it right.
Or wear them properly.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was all I wanted to talk about with that. And now we can get to the Actors Corner with Hugh Grant.
All right.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
That was a lot of talking. All right. I know what your first love is going to be.
Do you?
I do.
Okay.
Notting Hill.
Notting Hill.
Yep.
Love Actually.
Okay.
And Music and Lyrics.
You just named all three on my like.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So Notting Hill is like one of your favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
Do you know why? He's glitching.
Sorry, I froze. Not especially. It's just the humor. I mean, it's such classic British humor to me. It's so stereotypical Brits.
Yeah.
Being acting and behaving and saying what they do. I mean, it's perfect. I also like the premise that every man meets a superstar.
Yeah.
Right. And for whatever reason, the superstar is enamored, and
he offers apricots and honey.
That would do it. And he has a picture of a goat playing a violin.
That's right.
And who doesn't love that? Yeah, it's just it's every guy, fantasizes about that sort of thing.
Well, every person does. We have a Notting Hill list. Well, I do. Do you remember who was on yours?
No, I don't. And I'd have to give it some thought because it's probably changed over the years.
Well, it's much more difficult. We've had this conversation. We've talked about it on the podcast before. A freebie list is really easy. A freebie list of just who can you hook up with for a night as far as celebrities go, that's easy.
Right.
But thinking of someone that you'd actually want to marry and live your life with,
right,
it takes a lot of work. I have 4 on my list.
Who are they, if you don't mind me asking?
We've talked about it before.
I know.
Chris Evans.
Oh, well, he might be on my list.
He might be. Will Smith.
Okay.
John Krasinski.
Yeah.
And Sterling K. Brown.
Okay. Yeah, none of those are shockers to me.
Yeah, but it is tough. It's when you think of you want to marry someone, who would that be? It takes a lot of people out of the running for me.
Yeah, and my mind works differently because honestly, my mind just works differently.
Yeah.
So for me, I would have to kind of do a little looking around to go, oh yeah, okay, yes.
Right.
Because as we're sitting here talking, I can only think of one, and that would be Julia Roberts.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because as, like Julia Roberts from Pretty Woman, yes, that's a hookup, right?
Got it.
But as we've both matured,
Both?
well, at different paces. I mean, I haven't matured nearly as much as she has, but she's a good person and
Right.
a great mom and all that stuff. And when you start thinking about, the intent of what we're talking about, spending the rest of your life and getting married to and having to be around them all the time,
Right.
she's very much, I think that person.
Yeah.
And as, we're sitting here talking, I honestly can't think of another.
Sandra Bullock?
Yeah.
She was always on your freebie list.
See, I think she's much more the freebie list versus the spend the rest of your life with.
Huh.
That's the problem I'm having making the distinction between.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I think you should put some thought into this. I think it'd be interesting to revisit this and see who you come up with.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll get to work on it immediately.
Yes. Okay. So, like I said, those were my 3 likes. So, Notting Hill, Love Actually, which, absolute classic, which is kind of the same thing, that British humor all across the stories.
Very much.
Every single story is a good one. And then music and lyrics. Hello. I mean, Hugh Grant singing and dancing, and Drew Barrymore. It's just, it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, who are your loves?
Sense and Sensibility. Everyone should know by now. That's actually one of my top 5 movies of all time.
Okay.
So, of course. And that was also one of the first times I think I may have seen 4 Weddings before I saw that. So
okay.
He was still very new to me. 9 Months. I've talked about it on here before.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfection. Robin Williams. I can't even get into it again, but it is the best.
Right.
And 2 Weeks Notice. When I kind of weigh out all of those romantic comedies of his, 2 Weeks Notice always wins out.
Yeah.
Again, him and Sandra Bullock was just a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah.
And so I haven't fully seen Sense and Sensibility.
You have. We sat and watched it.
The whole thing?
Yep. You haven't seen Pride and Prejudice yet.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking of. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, in that case, I'm making one change, and your loves are my likes.
Okay.
2 Weeks Notice, 9 Months, and Sense and Sensibility.
You're going to say you like Sense and Sensibility even though you don't remember watching.
Hold on. I don't remember seeing the whole thing. There are parts of it I remember very well, but I've come in when you've been watching it so often.
Yeah, you don't
that
remember
it's hard,
the rest.
Yeah, that it's hard for me to pick out those times. But what I've seen of it, I really like. I mean, that's
the best.
Yeah,
Emma Thompson, Kate Winslet.
Yeah, I mean,
Alan Rickman.
Yeah, it's like a who's who of popular British actors.
Yeah.
So it's really good.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything you hate?
No.
Oh, I have a few. What do I have written down? Oh, The Englishman Who Went Up a Hill and Came Down a Mountain. Boring.
Okay.
American Dreams. Did not like that movie, and I don't even remember him in it. I don't really remember the movie because I refused to ever watch it again after I saw it the first time.
Okay.
And Mickey Blue Eyes. Ugh.
See,
it had so much potential, and it was so stupid.
See, I thought about putting that on my to watch list.
No, that's where I get when I say "get the hell out of here." That's from that movie. That's the only time I quote that movie, but the rest of it was awful. So
I did not realize that was a movie quote for you.
Yep.
I thought you were just being
No, they're trying
goofy.
to teach him how to speak like a gangster type. Get the hell out of here, and he's got he can't do it. So
yeah.
Okay, Secretly Love.
Did you hear about the Morgans?
Okay,
and
I love that movie,
and that's primarily because of Sam Elliott. Yeah,
and Mary Steenburgen.
Well, yes,
she's so fantastic. God, she's like in everything now, and she's so good in everything. I love her so much.
Yeah, she isn't quite in everything, but that's a bad choice. She should be in everything.
She is right now. I swear in the last few weeks I've watched her in probably 3 or 4 things. Anyway, yeah, you look, that's, again, it's one of those, it's enjoyable enough. Sarah Jessica Parker, it's a funny combination of the two of them.
Right.
That's for sure. That's all you have under Secretly Love?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I've got About a Boy. Oh, love it so much. 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Obviously, that was the first time I ever saw him. It's such a classic romance. And it's so funny. Oh my God. It's one of the funniest. I do quote a lot of things from that movie. And then I have all the Bridget Joneses. The first one being the best, obviously. But his Daniel Cleaver is iconic from those movies as well. So, yeah.
Well, what was your list again for that you just went through?
Secretly Love?
Yeah.
About a Boy, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, and the Bridget Joneses movies.
Okay.
Okay. You. Embarrassed you haven't seen?
Well, 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, because that is such a classic.
Yeah, you'll love it because, again, it is so funny.
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. I didn't have anything here. And then adding to your watch list?
I put Remains of the Day because it looks like a story I'd like, because I do like... Downton Abbey and that sort of thing, and it looks like that sort of thing. Yeah. So I think I'd like it. So that's why I put that there. But it could be. I think I saw most of the original Bridget Jones and didn't hate it. I mean, it's Colin Firth and Hugh Grant, and I think I could put those there too. Yeah, those two are the reason for those movies. It's not her. So poor dear. Adding to the watch list, I put The Gentleman. It just came out. I actually have it sitting on the DVR. We just haven't watched it yet. Okay. And I have some honorable mentions. The Rewrite, which was kind of his last rom-com with Marissa Tomei. It was actually better than I thought. Yeah, you know what? I forgot all about that movie. I liked that. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. Florence Foster Jenkins with Meryl Streep. That was good. Okay. And it didn't get anywhere. Paddington 2, he was really funny in that. And then, of course, I put The Undoing. Even though I didn't like the ending, he was still really amazing in it. So that is everything. I'm exhausted. I am too. How did I watch all of this in the last few weeks? You're good at what you do. All right. That is everything. God, I hope so. Yes. We will be back in a couple weeks. During these couple weeks, Hanukkah will occur and end before we're even back. It will come and go. It will. It'll start and end before we're back. So I just want to say have a wonderful, happy Hanukkah to everyone. Indeed. And we'll be back before the Christmas holiday. And I don't know if we'll do a whole Christmas episode, but we'll probably do something. Okay. About it. We're going to do something about it. We're going to do something about it. This Christmas thing. All right. So I think that's it. Again, happy Hanukkah to everyone. Stay home. Stay safe. Wear a mask, please. And that's it. Be kind to one another. Yes. That's Ellen's I know, but it works. Sorry. All right. Until then, I'll be watching my stories. Thanks, everyone. Thanks. Bye.